Now we're going to talk about migrating TD-based applications and SQL-based to other servers, to other data centers, to the cloud if you like. So it's not a must, the cloud thing here, but that is an option for you. And we will check this out now. So here are your presenters for this presentation, Helmut and me. The agenda, basically I will give a quick introduction of what is OT Migrate, OpenText Migrate. And then Helmut will show you how to migrate team developer-based applications and how to migrate SQL-based. And Migrate really has several advantages, benefits, I would say. OpenText Migrate allows you to migrate your machines, computers, whatever, anywhere to anywhere. And you see that on the right side. You have a source system, which can be physical, virtual, or in the cloud. And you can migrate that to a target system that can, again, be physical, virtual, or in the cloud. And it can be any combination of those. And we do support Windows and Linux, including several quite old versions if you need, and all the actual versions, of course. So basically, it helps you to get, if you are done, let's say, developing a team developer application and you want to make that application available in a software as a service model, and you want to migrate your SQL-based installation to a cloud server, for example, and your team developer to a cloud instance of Windows Server, then you can use Migrate to do that. And it doesn't matter, if that is in the Microsoft Azure Cloud or Amazon Web Services or VMware Cloud or Google Cloud, it all works. You can use any hypervisor, and as I mentioned, a pretty long list of operating systems. In the team developer and SQL-based case, it's likely always Windows, but SQL-based also runs on Linux, and that can run in a data center or in the cloud quite well. In the second presentation that we have after this one here, we will then show you how you can provide user access to these software as a service applications, being team developer applications. And so OpenText Migrate basically saves you money in migration because it does it all for you. It allows you testing, it saves you time, and it minimizes your risk. And Helmut will go on into the details of that. Helmut, please go on.
Yes, okay, many thanks, Martin. So first of all, we have a little bit talked behind the scenes about OpenText Migrate. What we are doing with OpenText Migrate is we have a byte level migration. That means, for example, if something is changed, if you have a document or if you have a special database file inside your environment, then OpenText Migrate will only replace the changed information or the changed bytes. So we are on byte level. And at least, I go back a slide, sorry. So at least that means we are using only this byte level migration. And maybe if you have a large database, this database is maybe 2 terabyte or 1 terabyte or whatever, then only the bytes which are changed are replaced. And I will step through this migration process, and I will show this tool and how this tool works and what you can do with this tool and all the different settings. And before we start looking into the demo, I want to give you a little bit more overview about the different settings, because you will see different screens, different servers, and so on. At least what I have done is I have set up a special demo environment. I have a migration manager. This can be any computer inside the network. In my case, it's a server, but it can also be a normal computer, like a computer from administrator. This computer needs only access to all the server inside my network. I have a DB-Source1 server, and I want to migrate this DB1 server to the different DB targets. Well, not only one. At least I want to show you the DEFCON 22 migration to this server, but maybe I want to check different settings. So a license is always set to a source server. That means the server I want to bring, for example, into the cloud, or I want to bring the server to a new hardware. But maybe if I want to use target systems like Azure and so on, I can choose different settings, like different processor types. I can choose different memory information, different hard disk, and so on. So I can do also a migration to different platforms. First of all, I can test these platforms, and later on, I can choose, for example, the best choice, and I can do the cutover, and I can, at this point, bring this server active. And now I want to go into my environment settings, and I want to show you how Migrate will work. Let's go over here. And I want to show first at all the tool. So this tool has a pretty easy to understand front end. I see all my servers. You can see, for example, I have a source server. My license is bound to this source server. The product is a migration standard, nothing very special at this point. And also I added maybe with add server, with the dialog, I can add new servers, maybe test servers or hardware servers at this point, and I have to provide only IP address or the name of the server and the name and the password of the administrator. The core of this tool is called a job. A job is a special set of or settings to convert or to migrate a special server to a special target. So if you look, for example, in this dialog, you will see I have 3 jobs running, and the job type is a full server migration. So I choose also the file system. I can exclude, include file system parts or the complete file system. And now the activity is protecting. That means the mirror status is gone, because first of all, if I click on start, I get a complete mirror of my existing machine. So it copies the whole computer, the whole server, the source server, to the new machine. And if this is done, so maybe it takes some hours, some days, then it starts protecting. That means if I have this computer still running, so there's no downtime during the mirroring and so on, I can add and I can work with my computer, with my source computer in a normal way. So there's no blocking of users, and I can add information, I can run applications, I can do all these file operations, I can do everything with my computer. There's no downtime. So at this point, then we check if something was, with an agent, if something was changed, and the changed information will be sent to the new target system. And you will see we have job highlights like mirror remaining 0 bytes, so the mirroring is done. 23 gig were skipped because it's useless information. We have a disk queue maybe, maybe the server was down for some times and so on. Then we create a queue. We have sent bytes. That's in this point 6 gigabytes to the server, to the new target server. Bytes then compressed 2.2 gigabytes. Connected since 21st of March. Sorry. So now let's have a look into one of these jobs. You can see connection IDs, the transmission code is okay, and so on, so on. I get some information about the statistics. Very important are the job properties. So these are really the task what to do. So if you look into the job properties, you will see first at all the job name. Normally it's filled out automatically, so you don't have to define this job name, but at least it's up to you. You can choose the default values, or you can do your own value. We have a failover option. That means at maybe after 2 days or so, your computer or your server is now one-to-one, or your cloud machine is one-to-one to your target server or to your source server. So they are the same. And you can decide, okay, if this point is reached, then do the initial failover. That means at this point, shut down the original server, the target server. The target server will also shut down and will reboot and get all this information like IP address and also the name of the server. We have a special directory. This is the staging folder. Inside the staging folder, you will find all the user environments, all the settings for booting, all this auto-exec informations, and so on. But in our case, the user should initialize the failover. That means the user, the administrator, has to say, yes, I want to do the cutover, the failover now. And also, I want to shut down the source server. At least I want to stop now the processes, all processes on my source server, and the new server gets the source server with the IP address, with all the services, with all the user informations, and so on, and starts. Let's have a look into the failover identity. Okay, this is only a check. Please use the DNS server. I can use mirror and validating informations. That means compare the file attributes, sensor attributes, and bytes that differ. So I have different options. I can say do not compare files, send the entire files, and so on. So it makes sense to set it to compare file attributes and bytes that differ. At least if you have a large database file, or if you're living applications, so that means you are in development process of your team development application, there may be executable changes, then only the executable is sent, and maybe also only the changed values inside the database. What you can do is the network root, the staging folder options. That is very important. So inside the staging folder on the target system, you will find all the information like the boot init, all the different values inside the different program file settings, also the databases, and so on. So this is really the data which is changed and used by the users on your server. We have a target services. That means also you can see all the services. So if you look into maybe startup sequence of SQLBase during startup time, then it also, if you start the new server, the DEFCON 22, the database process will also be started. We can set up a compression to medium, for example. We can check the bandwidth. That means maybe during daytime, your application is running, a lot of users are using the database and so on. So I want to cut down maybe the transmission rate, the bandwidth, so I can limit it. I can send also, or set up also a special scheduler. That means do the mirroring and the replication only during maybe after 22 in the evening and so on. And at least what I can do the next, and I can check all my settings. So if I have chosen, for example, a computer which has only 2 terabytes of disk space, and my original system has 4 terabytes of disk space, I get a warning, this is not possible to run this application, please fix it. So at this point, I have to go to Azure, maybe to add disk space to get this job cleared. So at this point, my job is done, and at this point, this is healthy, everything is okay. Also, what I can do, I can use the reporting, what's going on into my operating systems, what's going on, and so on, to find out about the process. So it's a straightforward process to set up this migration. So let's have a look into our source system and our, where's my DEFCON? Here we go. So my process is running, my protection is working, and what I want to do is I have now an island application running on my source system. Inside my island application, I can change information like doing something safe. So I'm working with my application without any problem. It's still running very well. But in meantime, my migration process is still working and doing all the changes, all the replications, and so on. In my staging folder on my source system, I can go now into my program data, for example, into Gupta, SQLBase, Island, and you will see there was a change at 9:35 a.m. That means our system is running somewhere, Asia system somewhere in the UK. So we are 1 hour in front. And also the log file is changed. So the DBS file is not transferred, only the changed bytes are transferred. If you look into our user environment, you will see we have some informations on our desktop. Again, it's still in the staging folder because I did not do invoke the migration process itself. That means to shut down the source server and start the migrated server. We have a user list, and you will see there's Helmut R and so on. So what I can do is now I can stop, and we have also the user list on that one. I change it into Helmut, file save, and I'm pretty sure if I open that one, oops, here we go, it's Helmut. So this is really live. And also, if I do another point, like I copy something on my computer because maybe I want to update something in my environment. I want to set up, for example, inside my team developer environment, I have to insert maybe a patch and so on. So I copy the patch into my old system, into my source system. You will see I get also the same information now on my target system. And of course, after a while, if this is done and my system is healthy, all my jobs are done, I can click on cut over, and my source server will shut down. My target server will restart one time. It maybe takes 2 or 3 minutes. The staging folder is copied to the right place on the operating system, and the new server, maybe it's a virtual server, maybe it's inside the cloud, gets now the IP address and so on. So there's no need to change something inside my environment, inside my SQL INI, for example, or into my .NET provider strings and so on, because the source server, the new server is now the source server. Now we are going back into our environment. So Martin told you this migration can be from any to any. That means from a source server to the physical source server to virtual, from the cloud back to the physical, and so on. On top, you have also the possibility to extend the license. That means maybe you have an old server and you want to use the server as a backup. And maybe the system can be copied and migrated and so on, mirrored to the old computer. And if something is done with the cloud is down or not reachable, then automatically the backup server will take over the processes and will do all the things, because you have no data lost, you have no changes or no lost inside maybe a document which is previously changed, and you have enough time to get the original server to work, and then you can go back. That means do again the migration process, and after a while, maybe after 2 or 3 days, the cloud is back again, and you can do a cutover again. Some important hints: SQL-based engine on target server should not run. Of course not, because it's inside the staging folder. The process, the agents are writing into the database files and in the logs and so on. And the database gets corrupted if the process is running and active. And also see into your license of SQLBase. It's only allowed to install one instance of the SQLBase for a license. That means the license is not active during migration and so on. And if you do a cutover, then the original license gets free because the server shuts down and you are on the new server. And of course, after cutover, I mentioned it several times, the source server shuts down. The target server, cloud server, gets IP and the server name of the source server. So there's no need to change something in the configuration. And OpenText Migration starts the SQLBase after cutover if the SQLBase is installed as a service. So a pretty easy way to get a migration done from one server to another server, to get new hardware, or to do a migration of your existing applications into the cloud without blocking user, without downtimes for any user. So a very, very easy migration process, and also very, very useful. The cutover is done during, I say always during lunchtime. If you do the migration maybe on Friday, send an email to users. Maybe the server will be on maintenance between 1 and 2 o'clock, and at 2 o'clock they are on the new server. And if you have any questions, please let me know.
Helmut, at the moment we have no specific questions for this presentation. There were some questions that came in that I'm not able to answer right now, and we will get back to you with the details on that, as we need to talk to engineering for some of the details. Okay. So Migrate, again, is really a nice tool to migrate your installations to live systems, from staging systems to live systems, to data centers, to cloud installations. And in the next presentation, we will really show you how you can give remote access to these applications in the cloud, even maybe if you host them in your own data center. And the nice thing with the next presentation is also that we will use the Team Developer REST API to talk to the remote access system and manage the entire remote access system basically from a Team Developer application. OpenText has that approach to applications that basically it says, we want to give you an application that a user can use immediately with a user interface, but we also give you an API, a REST API, so that you can use the business process of that application from your own programming. And the Exceed TurboX remote access solution does exactly that. You have a user interface, but you also have a REST API where you can totally control the entire environment from code. And Helmut will show that from Team Developer. So just a few more seconds here until we go into the next presentation.